What's going on, JW Faction? My name is Josh Williamson. So for this old video recipe, well, first of all, before I get into that, I want to say I know that I've been slacking on my channel as of lately, and the reason why is two things. I haven't done any reactions in a while, and the reason why is because my studio is still getting remodeled right now, and I've had a really hectic work schedule as of lately. But anyways, I'm going to be uploading today, and for this old video recipe, I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite cakes in the world, which is angel food cake. Very easy to make. Well, actually, at first when you make it, it can be a bit finicky, but once you get the hang of it, it's easy and it tastes great. So let's get started. So to start this recipe off, in this food processor, I have 1 3/4 cups of white sugar, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to blitz it until it turns almost powdery, you know, super fine. Now, if you can buy superfine sugar, or caster sugar as it's called in other countries, you don't have to do this step, but because I'm using regular white granulated sugar, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it super fine. After it's a super fine consistency, almost powdery as you can see, just take 1 cup of that super fine sugar that you just made and leave the rest of it in the food processor. With the rest of the sugar in the food processor with the 1 cup taken out, we're going to add half a teaspoon of salt in there, and I'm going to add 1 cup of cake flour to the food processor. Then blitz everything until it's well combined. Next, in a stand mixer, I have 1 1/2 cups of egg whites. This took me about 11 eggs to get 1 1/2 cups of egg whites. But anyways, to that, we're going to add half of a tablespoon of cream of tartar. Now, you don't necessarily need to have the cream of tartar, but it does help stabilize the eggs while we're beating them. And speaking of that, we're going to beat these eggs until they form a really foamy texture. After the egg whites look like a really thick bubble bath, what you want to do now is slowly add that 1 cup of white sugar that you removed from the food processor earlier while it's mixing. After all the sugar is poured in, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract to the mixture, and then I'm going to continue beating this until it forms soft peaks or stiff peaks. You could go either way. I'm going to choose soft peaks this time. I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so I actually beat it to stiff peaks this time, but either way, it's fine. It doesn't matter. But another way you can tell when it's ready to move on is if you take some of the mixture and it doesn't feel very grainy. All the sugar has been dissolved. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add that sugar and flour mixture that we made in the food processor. And then, here's the important part. You want to very gently fold this into the egg whites until all the flour is gone, and just until that point. You do not want to mix this too hard, otherwise you'll get rid of a lot of the air that was beat into the eggs. And that's actually how this cake rises. There's no baking powder in it, so you have to rely on the egg's air for it to rise, so you don't want to mix it too hard. So just mix it, fold it, until all of the flour is not visible anymore, and there's no big clumps either. Next, I have a tube pan here, or an angel food cake pan. You don't want to grease it or put any parchment paper at all, because we actually want this cake to stick to the pan so it'll climb up the sides and rise better. But anyways, what you want to do is take all of that mixture and pour it in. Smoothing out the top as best as you can without trying to get a lot of it on the sides of the pan, the upper edges. Then take a big wooden skewer and swirl around all over the batter. This will get rid of a lot of the huge air bubbles that will ruin the cake as it's baking. Then what you want to do is put this in the oven on the bottom third rack at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius for about 40 to 45 minutes. Check it after 35, by putting a skewer inside of the cake, and if it comes out clean, then it's ready. Alright, and the cake is done baking. Now, what I've done here is I've gotten my wire rack out, and I put the cake while it's in the pan, turn it upside down, and put it on top of the wire rack. And you want to leave it like that for 2 hours. The reason why you want to do that is you run a lot less of a risk of the cake collapsing when you try to get it out of the pan. Now it's time to take the cake out of the pan after it's done cooling. Now, Just take like a butter knife or an offset cake spatula and run it all over the center sides like I'm doing right here. And I've got a much bigger one right here, and I'm going to run it all over the outer sides as well. Now keep in mind, this cake is really stuck to the pan, and it's supposed to be that way with an angel food cake. And that's actually also why angel food cakes that you see made on TV, on YouTube videos, or what you see at the store has that rustic outer appearance, because it sticks to the pan. And because this pan has a push-up base, you can just push up like that and it's completely out. Then to release the bottom, just do the same thing with the offset spatula and then just dig around the upper sides. Then it just comes right off. The way you cut a piece off of angel food cake is also pretty important. You want to use a long knife like this bread knife that has a rugged edge to it like this, a serrated knife. And then you want to gently saw down and then just do it another time as big as a piece as you want. And there you go. Look at that, that is beautiful. Alright, our angel food cake is done. Like I said, it was easy to do. You know, at first it can be a little bit finicky because of the techniques that you have to use, you know, just to make the cake and cut it. But when you get the hang of it, it's easy. It does take a while, that's true, but in the end, it is worth it because this is one of my favorite cakes in the world. It's awesome. Not only is it awesome tasting, it's also very texturally appealing. It is super, super fluffy. You see that? See that texture right there? That is awesome. But if you try this out, leave it in the comment section down below and tell me what you thought, whether you liked it or you hated it. If you liked it, give me a thumb up. Hate it, you thumb it down. And be sure to subscribe to become a member of the JW faction on enjoying 10,000 subscribers. See you later.